not tired, you're distracted. Every minute you spend worrying about others is a minute stolen from your future. You scroll through lives that aren't yours, argue with people who don't matter, and chase validation from those who would never trade places with you. Here's the truth no one wants to admit. You're wasting your life one comparison, one distraction at a time. The Stoics believe that your time is your most sacred possession, and yet we give it away for free, to opinions, to gossip, to meaningless approval. But what if you could reclaim it? What if the key to power, peace, and purpose is radical focus on yourself? Stay with me, because once you see this clearly, you'll never go back. 1. You owe yourself more than you owe the world. Let me take you back. Remember the first time you fell in love? That electric rush, the late-night texts, the promises you whispered under the stars. You gave so much of yourself, your time, your heart, your attention, without even thinking. You put them first. Their happiness became your happiness, and slowly, you started disappearing. But here's the part no one talks about. When it all fell apart, you didn't just lose them. You lost pieces of yourself that you had handed away for free. And that's where the problem begins. We are taught to give, to sacrifice, to show up for others no matter what. But rarely are we taught this Stoic truth. You owe yourself more than you owe the world. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor burdened with the weight of an empire, still found time every single night to write to himself. Not to his advisors, not to his people, but to his soul. Because he knew, if you don't take care of your inner world, the outer world will consume you. So let me ask you, when was the last time you chose yourself? When was the last time you said no to the world, just to say yes to your peace? We pour ourselves into relationships, friendships, workplaces, hoping to be seen, valued, loved. But what if I told you that the love you're starving for must first come from you? Because here's the thing, if you give everyone your time, energy, and heart and leave nothing for yourself, you'll always feel empty. This isn't selfishness, this is self-respect. The Stoics didn't avoid people, they just didn't let people rule them. They understood the danger of living for the expectations of others. Seneca said, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." In trying to please the world, you lose yourself. Maybe you're in that place right now, trying to hold on to someone who's slipping away, trying to fix people who don't want to be fixed, burning out just to keep everyone else warm. But imagine this instead. You wake up, you check in with yourself before you check your phone. You say no to things that drain you. You take walks without explaining. You journal, meditate, read, not for show but for strength. You pour into yourself the way you once poured into them, and something magical happens. You begin to feel whole again. Because when you stop betraying yourself to please others, you stop bleeding for people who wouldn't even give you a bandage. So no, this isn't just a video. It's a wake-up call to choose yourself, to love yourself the way you loved them, to stop wasting your time chasing people, and start building the person you were always meant to become. You owe yourself more. And in the next part, I'll show you how the poison of comparison is silently killing your peace, and what the Stoics would do instead. Stay with me. Let me know when you're ready for the next point. Comparison is the enemy of growth. 2. Comparison is the enemy of growth. Let me ask you something deeply personal. Have you ever looked at someone else's life? Maybe an ex who moved on? Maybe a friend on Instagram and suddenly felt like you're behind? You see their happy photos, their glowing careers, their seemingly perfect relationships, and without even realizing it, you start shrinking inside. You start asking, why not me? What's wrong with me? But here's the raw truth. What you're comparing yourself to is a highlight reel of someone else's life. You're judging your behind the scenes based on their most polished scenes, and it's destroying you. You know, after his exile, the Stoic philosopher Epictetus had nothing, not even freedom. But he said, what upsets people is not things themselves, but their judgments about these things. That judgment, that's comparison. Let me take you into a memory. You were in love once. You gave someone your soul. And when they left, or worse, when they chose someone else, you didn't just lose them. You lost the version of yourself who thought you were enough. And what did you do next? You started watching, comparing, stalking their new life, wondering if they were happier now. But here's the most painful part. Every time you compared, you opened the wound again. You bled, quietly, emotionally, endlessly. And for what? The Stoics taught that envy is ignorance of your own power. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more who is poor." Let that sink in. Because when you compare, you forget that your journey is sacred. Your healing is not on their timeline. Your growth doesn't need their validation. You were never meant to grow in someone else's light. You are your own sun. Imagine this. Instead of scrolling through everyone else's life, you looked in the mirror and asked, "What can I create today? How can I love me better today? How far have I come compared to yesterday's me?" That's the only comparison that matters, because the man who measures himself by himself grows freely. Stop looking over your shoulder. Stop racing against ghosts. Stop trying to outshine others when you were built to illuminate differently. Because the day you stop needing applause is the day you start hearing your own voice again. And that voice, it's been waiting to lead you. Now, in the next part, we're going deeper. I want to talk about the silent pain you're carrying, your deepest fears, and why sharing them too freely could be the very thing that weakens you. Ready to uncover the next truth? Just say the word. Or your time is not refillable. Use it like gold. Let's go to a place few dare to go, inside your heart. Tell me, have you ever loved someone so deeply, so wildly, that you gave them everything? Not just your time, but your secrets, your scars, your fears? You whispered things you never told another soul. You opened your chest and said, "Here, this is all of me." And for a while they held you gently, until one day, they didn't. And now, they're gone. But they still carry the map to your most vulnerable self. That's the danger of emotional exposure. The Stoics warned us, never hand someone the sword they might one day use against you. Epictetus said, if you want to be invincible, then don't enter into battles where you are already wounded. Your deepest fears, your loneliness, your insecurity, your childhood pain, these are not things to hide. But they're also not things to bleed all over the wrong people. We live in a world that romanticizes being vulnerable. And yes, openness is brave, but unguarded emotional dumping? That's not bravery, that's emotional recklessness. Let me take you back. You were once in a relationship where every night felt like a safe space. You shared your fear of abandonment, your fear of failure, your fear that you'd never be enough. And when the fights came, suddenly those fears were no longer protected. They were weaponized. This is why no one stays with you. You're too much. You always do this. And in that moment, what was once love became war. The Stoics would ask, does this person deserve access to my inner world? If the answer is no, then what are you doing letting them inside? Because here's the truth. Not everyone who listens deserves to know. Not everyone who seems safe is safe forever. And sometimes, the person who once made you feel strong will be the one to exploit your weakness. That's not bitterness. That's wisdom. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. And the more you expose your darkness to unstable people, the more it colors your soul in distrust, shame, and regret. So what do? You don't close off, but you protect your peace. You let your deepest fears be handled first by you, not thrown into the world hoping someone else will heal them. You write. You reflect. You go inward. And you become the one person you can fully trust. Because once you master your fears quietly, no one can use them loudly. Comparison isn't just a thief of joy. It's a parasite on your purpose. And every second you waste watching someone else live, you're dying a little inside. So today, choose a new lens. Not envy, not insecurity, but presence, gratitude, self-respect. Because once you stop comparing, you'll finally start building. And in the next section, I'll expose the hidden addiction you didn't even know you had, the silent craving for validation that's been holding your growth hostage. Are you ready to break free? Let me know when to continue with Validation is a Silent Addiction. See, validation is a silent addiction. Let me ask you a raw, uncomfortable question. When you post a photo, send a message, or even dress a certain way, who are you doing it for? Is it really for you? Or are you secretly hoping they'll see it? They'll notice. They'll miss you? That's the trap. Validation. And here's the hidden truth. Validation is an addiction, quiet, sweet, and deadly. It doesn't look like drugs. It doesn't smell like alcohol. But it consumes you just the same. Let me take you into a moment. Remember the one you loved most? You'd send a message and wait. And when they didn't reply, your chest tightened. You checked again and again. And when they finally did respond, just a little blue tick or a hey, your brain lit up. You felt seen, wanted, real. But here's the poison. That hit of attention became your drug. And like all addictions, the high never lasts. Seneca once said, "He who looks outside for applause has placed his life in the hands of strangers." And that's what validation is. It's begging for worth in a world that cannot give it to you. The Stoics taught that peace comes from within, not from how many people approve of you, miss you, or love you back. And yet, here we are, living for likes, dying over replies, adjusting ourselves, our bodies, our words, our values just to be approved. But here's the paradox. The more you seek validation, the more power you give away. You become a puppet to opinions. You lose your voice just to hear theirs. You become a character in their play, instead of the author of your own story. Let me paint you a different picture. Imagine waking up not wondering who texted, but asking yourself, "How do I feel today?" Imagine posting something not to be seen but to express. Imagine walking into a room and not needing to be liked because you already love yourself. That is power. That is Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own." Read that again, slowly. You don't need more likes. You don't need their replies. You don't need to prove anything to anyone who couldn't see your worth to begin with. You just need you. Rooted, calm, whole. Now, in the next part, we'll talk about another poison we often carry without knowing it. Personal resentments, and how holding on to them secretly weakens everything you're trying to build. Shall we move forward? 5. The discipline of saying no without guilt. Tell me something. When was the last time someone really hurt you? Not just annoyed you. I mean hurt you deep in the chest. Betrayed. Lied. Left you when you needed them most. You remember, don't you? You can still feel it. The late nights. The unanswered messages. The silence that echoed louder than words ever could. And maybe you told yourself you moved on. But what if you didn't? What if right now you're still carrying that resentment like a shadow, smiling on the outside but deep down thinking, "They'll regret this one day. I'll show them." But here's the harsh truth. Resentment doesn't punish them. It punishes you. The Stoics understood this long ago. Seneca wrote, "Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it." You think you're holding on to pain as a reminder, but what you're really holding is a weight around your soul. Let me take you into a story. There was a man who was left by the woman he loved. She didn't explain why she just disappeared. He thought about her every night. He replayed every conversation, wondering what he did wrong. And as the years passed, he told everyone he was fine. But deep down, he lived to prove her wrong. Every success, every move was secretly meant to say, "Look what you missed." But here's the twist. He never really lived for himself. He lived for a ghost. And ghosts don't applaud. Resentment tricks you into believing you're staying strong, but in reality, you're staying stuck. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." That means healing. That means rising. That means no longer needing closure or payback. Because the moment you truly let go, you reclaim your power, not as a victim, but as a creator of your own peace. Now let me ask you something honest. Is there someone you still resent? Someone whose name stings when you hear it? Someone who still shows up in your thoughts uninvited? And more importantly, how long will you keep giving them rent-free space in your mind? The Stoics didn't teach us to become cold. They taught us to become free. And freedom means letting go of what no longer serves you. Forgiveness isn't saying what they did was okay. Forgiveness is saying, "I choose not to let your mistake define the rest of my life." So take a deep breath, write the name down, feel the anger one last time, and then release it. Not for them, but for you. Because until you let go, you can't move forward. In the next part, we'll uncover a surprising truth about something we think is always good: your generosity and why true giving doesn't need an audience. Are you ready to see what real selflessness looks like? 6. Why peace comes from prioritizing your inner world. Let me take you back to a moment of quiet generosity. The kind where you gave, not because you expected something in return, but simply because it felt right. Remember that time when you gave a gift, a kind word, or your time to someone who truly needed it? You didn't ask for anything. No applause. No thank you hanging in the air like a badge of honor. You just did it. And yet, what if you didn't get the recognition you were hoping for? What if they didn't even notice? Would it still feel just as good? It's easy to give when people see it. It's easy to be generous when the world can shower you with praise. But true generosity, the kind that doesn't need recognition, is a rare and powerful thing, because real giving doesn't come with strings attached. In fact, the Stoics were obsessed with this idea. Seneca once wrote, "It is not how much we give, but how much love we put into giving." Think about that for a moment. How many times have you given, whether it's your money, your time, or your kindness, and expected something back? Not directly, of course, but maybe a little thank you, maybe some acknowledgement, maybe a hint of admiration for how generous you are. And when that doesn't come, a small seed of disappointment. It hurts, doesn't it? But true generosity, the kind the Stoics praised, asks for nothing in return. Not a thank you, not recognition, not even a smile. It's not about how they respond. It's about how you feel when you give. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Lucius, a wealthy Roman who spent much of his life giving away his fortune. Not in public spectacles, but in quiet, private acts of kindness. He helped people without ever telling anyone about it. His giving wasn't a part of his identity, it was just who he was. And when people came to him seeking his help, he never mentioned it again. The people who received his help often didn't even know who the benefactor was. Lucius was a ghost, leaving behind gifts but never attaching his name. That's the secret of Stoic generosity. It's a silent power. No one needs to know. No one needs to be impressed. You give because it's right, not because it makes you look good. Marcus Aurelius himself wrote, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." And in that goodness we find the truest form of giving, unseen, unspoken, and unselfish. So I ask you this. The next time you give, whether it's to someone you love, a stranger, or even to yourself, ask yourself why you're doing it. Is it because you want recognition? Or is it because you simply want to make the world a little bit better, without needing a thank you? Because the moment you can give without looking back, you'll experience a freedom only the Stoics understood. Here's the Stoic secret. Focus is a form of freedom. Let's take a step back and think about family. Family is supposed to be where you feel safe, loved, and understood, right? But what happens when the very people you trust the most become the source of your greatest pain? Think back to a time when things weren't perfect at home. Maybe it was a fight with a sibling, a disagreement with a parent, or tension with someone you loved deeply. The kind of issue that cuts deeper than any argument with a stranger ever could. Family conflicts have a way of lodging themselves in your heart, making everything feel personal because, after all, they are personal. But here's the catch. There's a Stoic secret that could save you from years of heartache, confusion, and bitterness. Not everything needs to be shared. This idea may seem strange at first. After all, aren't families supposed to talk things through? Shouldn't we express our hurt and frustration? Marcus Aurelius had a radically different perspective. He often reminded himself, keep yourself simple, good, pure, serious, unpretentious, a friend of justice, God-fearing, kind, full of affection, strong for your proper work. In other words, don't make your struggles everyone else's problem. Don't use your family as a sounding board for every little emotion or conflict. Not because you shouldn't feel hurt, you should, but because sharing every frustration can quickly turn your home into a battlefield rather than a sanctuary. Let me share a story with you. Imagine you're in a heated argument with a family member. Words are flying, tempers are flaring. You both say things you regret, but in the heat of the moment it feels right. You vent your feelings, convinced that getting everything out into the open is the only way to feel better. But the next day, you look around at your family and things feel different. The distance between you and that person grows. The tension lingers. It's not just the words that hurt anymore. It's the relationship that's been cracked. The Stoics would say, don't let your family become a source of public drama. Sharing family issues with the world, whether it's on social media, to your friends, or with distant relatives, only serves to invite opinions, judgments, and wounds that aren't meant to be opened up again. There's immense wisdom in keeping certain things private. A family conflict should stay within the family, handled quietly and with respect. Not because you're hiding anything, but because you're protecting the bond. By making the conflict public, you risk turning private matters into public spectacles, damaging what should be the most sacred part of your life. 8. Let the world burn. You've got work to do. Imagine for a moment that you're at a party, surrounded by friends, colleagues, and acquaintances. The conversations are flowing, laughter fills the air, and you're catching up with people you haven't seen in a while. Then someone asks the dreaded question, "So how's business? How much are you making these days?" You feel the weight of the question. Should you answer? Should you hide it? What's the right answer? We live in a world obsessed with numbers, bank balances, income, investments, and social media followers. Everyone seems to want to know what you have, how much you make, where you're going, what you're driving. But here's the thing the Stoics understood better than most. True wealth isn't meant to be flaunted, and your financial status, it's none of their business. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, didn't wear his wealth on his sleeve. Instead, he wrote, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." You see, the Stoics were never concerned with appearing wealthy. They cared about the ability to live without needing the validation that wealth can provide. For them, the most valuable thing wasn't money, it was the ability to control your desires and live with contentment, regardless of your financial standing. How did that feel afterward? Were you proud of yourself for putting it all out there? Or did you feel empty, like something important had just slipped away? When you share your financial status with others, you're handing them a part of your identity. And the problem with that? People begin to measure you by your wealth, your possessions, your material success, but you are not your bank account. Imagine the power you would have if no one knew how much you made. If your financial life remained a mystery, a quiet part of your existence that was neither bragged about nor pitied. There's wisdom in the quiet mystery of wealth, a silent strength that says, "I have what I need and I need very little to be content." This, according to the Stoics, is the true mark of wealth. Take a moment to think about this in your own life. How often have you felt the need to justify your income or wealth? How many times have you caught yourself talking about what you have, seeking approval or validation from others? But here's the Stoic secret. The less you reveal, the more powerful you become. Not in a way that makes you superior or detached, but in a way that allows you to control the narrative about who you are. True wealth isn't in the things you own. It's in the way you hold your life quiet, powerful, and free from the approval of others. Now think about how you could apply this in your own life. What if you chose to share less about your finances and instead focused on what you could give, how you could grow, and who you could become? Because in the end, your worth is measured by your character, not your bank balance.